There we are. We're live with Craig Taylor. How are you, sir?
Great, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I got to say, I'm a little jealous. We were just chatting before the show. You said you actually were on the ice this morning.
I was indeed, yes.
Yeah. Got a good workout. No injuries. Everything good.
Everything was, nobody got hurt. And at our age, we all say, everybody does that check. Nobody got hurt. So that was good.
That's the beautiful thing about playing in the morning. Is everyone's got to go to work, and so I think everyone's out there to get a good workout and not kill each other, and then go to work. Contrary to some of those evening adult leagues where, I think some of the folks still think they're scouts in the stands. But anyway, we could talk hockey all day long, but we're here to talk about you guys and all the awesome things that CyberHoot's doing here these days. So jumping into it, I guess give me kind of the background, because you've got an interesting mix between MSP background, CISO, kind of been in this space. I think you got a lot of passion around providing this concept of cyber literacy to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and soon to be millions of individuals. And so let's kind of get into the background and how you got here.
Well, I've been in cybersecurity for probably 27 years now. I started in 1994 for a firewall vendor. Studied O'Reilly books. There's a bookshelf on the other side of that wall with TCP/IP and SMTP and FTP, active and passive, all these crazy things. And I've been doing cybersecurity ever since. And along the way, as a CISO for multiple Fortune 500 companies, Vistaprint, JP Morgan Chase, Computer Sciences Corporation is big in the Washington, D.C. area. Yeah. I just saw that there's a lack of cyber literacy, is what I'm calling it. It's not taught in schools. Computer literacy generally is taught in schools, but not cyber literacy. And so I see time and time again, companies are compromised or bamboozled out of funds. I have, as a reminder, right by my desk here, I have $25,000 in gift cards, $100 gift cards that were purchased by someone who started at a company, put it on social media, was approached by the president of the company, and did her duty, or he or she, to buy those gift cards. And it's a lack of simple knowledge. It's not rocket science. It's really simple things about social engineering, phishing, password hygiene, multi-factor, those sorts of things. So about 10 years ago, I decided to do something about it. And we're really focused at CyberHoot on the SMB market through MSPs that are the primary IT providers of that market, to bring basic cyber literacy to the world. Our big hag is to, train 1 billion people if we can. And we do it very effectively with our passwordless model. We have we've looked at all of the different points of friction that get involved in delivering awareness training, phishing simulations, dark web reporting to the end user community, because cybersecurity is a lot like the emperor with no clothes on, that analogy, if you will, Kevin. People are walking around online doing their day-to-day stuff, and they have no idea how exposed they are, and they have no idea how to prevent themselves from becoming the victim. So with a few simple videos and sort of some repetition, monthly videos, quarterly phishing assignments, a little bit of background on the exposed account, so you can understand, hey, if I have the same password everywhere I go and it's breached over here, they can use it to get in over there. Change healthcare. It was potentially a password management issue and a backdoor into the organization, VPN access. And 1/3 of the US health records are apparently in the hands of hackers now. The reality is there's a lot of simple things that you can do to really boost the security of small to medium-sized businesses, but you got to get that knowledge in their hands. And that's what we've done at CyberHoot. We've made it very easy. All of our platforms have 100% automation built into them. And with Google Workspace User Sync and Entra ID User Sync, it's completely set and forget now if you want. We build a program of videos each year. We send out our phishing simulations, and if you set up automatic mode and tie into those synchronizations, you don't have to log in. The automated reporting goes to management. You can get close to 100% compliance on your videos and your phishing simulations. Our most advanced platform does policies as well, has templates, and you can present a password policy to your employees to legally bind a signature to it. So it basically builds cybersecurity program and awareness from scratch, meets all the cyber insurance requirements, that sort of thing.
You've got an interesting confluence. Actually, I want to get back to this concept of passwordless in a moment, but you got an interesting confluence between your background, right? You've got initially went to a teaching college, have a degree in psychology, was a CISO, and you can kind of see how the three of these maybe have led you down this path of really trying to, affect change, from a psychological standpoint across the industry.
In fact, I was enrolled in Teachers College to become a full-fledged teacher. And no disrespect to teachers, but they don't make as much money as they deserve, right? And I decided in cybersecurity, I could make 3 times what I make as a teacher. But ultimately, 10 years ago, I combined everything. The psychology is, how do people learn? What motivates people to learn? Positive reinforcement. That's why attack phishing doesn't work. It's negative reinforcement. It's a slap on the wrist or a shock collar approach to teaching people when they make mistakes. You zap them. No, you need to give them positive reinforcement. Teach them what they need to know to be successful, and then hold them accountable. So we've really taken a look at, the psychology of learning, the cybersecurity basic skill set, and my love of teaching, and we married it all together to bring that cyber literacy skills and the foundational and fundamentals to the masses.
Yeah, you're so right. I think one of the I don't know if it's a tagline or kind of the concept I picked up on was this, not being punitive with kind of the anti-phishing, right? Or the testing, right? It's how do you elevate that literacy without, penalizing somebody? How do you make it interactive and positively, reinforce and affecting change? Because it seems like, and we were talking, and my background, I've been in that space for about 10 years. And sometimes, I want to hit my head against the wall because it seems like, things we were talking about 10 years ago, it hasn't, maybe it's human nature, but things haven't evolved. Humans are still humans, I guess. Yeah.
Hackers haven't evolved. Well, that's not true. Hackers have evolved, but the methods they're using are the same. The Verizon data breach report in last year said, we compared breaches in 2008 to 2023, and they're largely the same. Phishing and password hygiene. Yes, and there was, a distant third was missing patches, vulnerabilities that people haven't patched for. But by and large, the largest breaches are tied to that phishing, and then to a secondary extent, the password manager. That's a common theme that we, hammer down on, or not hammer, but we explain in our platform over and over again as we build our awareness programs for each year. So it's the same, but the attacks, they're more sophisticated, meaning if you click on one bad link in an email today, there's something called evil proxy. If you want to learn what that is, go to cyberhoot.com/blog and search for evil proxy. We'll explain it, but it steals your active tokens from your browser. Because you're logged into your email, most people are using an email client, perhaps on the web. You've got tokens in your Google Chrome or your Edge browser, and they can pull those out, and they're valid. They can be used and reused to log in and bypass your password and your MFA. And now they're in, at best, just your email account. At worst, maybe your bank account. If you're logged into your bank, you have a token there too. So they can steal those things and then get into your accounts and cause havoc, utter chaos in your business, from emailing all of your clients, another attack saying, Craig Taylor has sent you this file. It's a SOP or something, or an RFP. You need to look at it. And people know Craig. They generally trust me and open it up. And guess what? You're in trouble. Yeah. So there's the attacks are the same, but they're more sophisticated. They're more frequent, and they're more impactful. Not only is ransomware now not just encrypting your files. That's the old ransomware. The new ransomware takes a copy out of your environment and dribbles it to the internet to make you pay the ransom. That's what's happened in Change Healthcare. Not only that, Change Healthcare, those hackers shared it to 2 hacking groups. And the first hacking group got paid $18 million to not publish it. And then the second one popped up and said, well, we got it too. You got to pay us as well. Right. And they're still down. I was golfing on the weekend with a gentleman, and he said, we still can't get authorizations on our prescriptions. And everyone, Aetna's, they took a hit on their stock because they can't their income is down because of that breach. And that's the least problem. The financial aspect, it's the health records that you can't replace. You can't get a new social security number for your health records, right? What your health is what your health is. So it's really damaging when these breaches occur.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, the way that they can land and expand now within networks and extract, and, you know, how insidious they can be, where in the past it was like, all right, you know, give me a Bitcoin back when it wasn't, you know, whatever. I don't even know if the price is now, but
50 grand, 55, 60.
Give me a Bitcoin and I'll give you the key, and you know, and you'll be back to normal. Now it's pretty twisted. So yeah, it's evolved quite nastily, I guess, is maybe the understatement of the year. But so you mentioned, was it passwordless training or security? What was that phrase that you mentioned early on?
When you look at compliance levels, right, you can get to 30, 40, 50% compliance in any platform on the market. But when you look at what prevents them going to 60, 70, maybe even 90% compliance, it's users that can't remember to go log in once a month or forget their password to log into the platform. And so we know every user that we send our training assignments to does two-factor authentication to get into that email account. We know exactly who they are. And we've taken an encrypted URL and stuck it in their email saying, here is your training link. Here is your assignment, whether it's a policy, a video, or a phishing assignment. And we know who they are. They click the link. They're instantly on the CyberHoot website, branded for the MSP. This is not CyberHoot looking for a lot of press and notoriety. It's the MSP adding value to each and every employee at the companies they support each month by teaching them something new, holding them accountable, doing the phishing simulator, which, by the way, is positive reinforcement, educational, in the moment. It's an open book test. If you don't know what you're looking for on the sender in our phishing simulator, you can look and it says, oh, typo squatting. That's what hackers do. They change the letter by one. Not only is that, we use hyper-realistic phishing simulations, Kevin, which you'll appreciate this as a cyber professional. But for those out here, when you're doing attack phishing, any other vendor on the market has to register domains to send those messages into the inbox. And if you're emulating a vendor of some kind, let's say Netflix, you can't register a domain Netflix with the I missing. It'll be taken down. And so your watered down attack simulation has to be some obviously wrong domain name. That's not how hackers work. You think you're we talk to employees and they say, I know phishing. I just look at the domain name. And when it says, Microsoft isn't anywhere in the name, I know it's a hack when it's a Microsoft attack email, right? Phishing. So what we do is we'll remove the I in our simulation on our website, which is it's basically emulating a hyper realistic hacker attack where a hacker could register a domain like that for a week and it would be taken down. But by then they would have breached so many companies because people look at Netflix, done, good, trust it, right? So we are hyper realism. And then in the moment, if you can't recognize that, you fail the first time through, you get to retake it. We re-randomize our phishing simulation. This is that patent pending phishing simulator that we have. And we'll present Netflix with the I, and you'll see the difference. Or you'll get the same Netflix with no I, and you have to mark it unsafe. And you go through the 7 pieces of a phishing puzzle. At the end of it, you've created a crystal clear picture of what phishing is. No different than if I said, describe a dog, Kevin. You'd say it's got fur, 4 legs, wags its tail. It has, man's best friend. It's trainable. You could go down the list. And at the end of that, you could look at any dog in the world and say, I know that's a dog. It's not a cat. We're doing the same with phishing. And so people go from, and we know it works because the biggest telltale that it works is that the MSPs and the IT departments say, Craig, I used to get 10 messages a week. 12 messages a week, maybe 3 a day, asking, is this a fish? Is that a fish? The end users that were attacked with attack phishing were anxious and naive. They knew that there were problems and there were things coming to their inbox, but they did not want to make a mistake, but they didn't know how to tell. And those transform into, they go away. And occasionally you get an email from the same people saying, hey, Kevin, I found this fish. I deleted it, but I wanted you to know. I now am confident. I'm efficient in my inbox. Here's one of the hidden problems with phishing. when people don't know enough to spot it, they sweat it out for minutes in their inbox, looking at one email going, this is not right here. And they don't want to forward it to their IT department at first because they don't want to look stupid and they don't want to click, but it's so emotionally and urgent that they don't want to ignore it. And so they wait and they think about it, and then they still make a bad decision. They click or they forward it off asking, is this an attack? So it's an enormous waste of time.
Yeah.
We fix that at CyberHoot with our simulator.
You know, I think what's refreshing.
By the way, I haven't said the name. Sorry, Kevin. We're calling it Hootfish. We got a tagline for it. It's our latest platform, and we sell it direct all by itself. If you have great learning management, you can buy just our Hootfish simulator, which eliminates the negativity and the pitting IT against the employee, which is unfortunately what happens all too often with attack phishing. Yeah. We replace it with something that's empowering, uplifting, educational, 100% score on every employee, which is unheard of in the industry. Normally you get 50% knowledge of what your users did. 10% failed, 40% passed, because you can track that. But there's 50% you have no idea what they did, right? Did they click? Did they get it? Did they open it? We don't know because they didn't open the email. And that's unacceptable to us. You need to know how your entire company, every last human firewall in the chain, is performing on phishing simulations. It's the number one way companies are breached.
Absolutely. So having, security and formerly being at an MSP, kind of in your background, what do you see? What are the challenges that you see with MSPs and their go-to-market with these types of solutions, or their inability to get these solutions effectively out across their customer base?
Well, it used to be a lot of work, Kevin, an enormous amount of work. Mm-hmm. Every single tool and technology you put in your MX record is to block attack messages from getting to the inboxes. It's not perfect, and that's why we need to train the users to spot them when they sneak through. But to get a real attack, like a real testing email into the inboxes of users, you have to write exceptions all over the place unless you're using CyberHoot. That goes away. Our phishing simulator is 100% automated. You don't have to do any heavy lifting. So at the end of the day, to answer your question, the traditional barrier has been administration and how difficult it is. Not only is it difficult because you have to write allow lists in all of, usually you have these in sequence. You have your spam filter forwarding to Microsoft or Google, and then Google and Microsoft are doing their own scanning of the emails. You've got to write different allow lists in the spam filter from Microsoft because you can't see the source IPs, et cetera, et cetera. All of that goes away because we're not sending an attack message to the inbox. We do have that capability in our Power Platform, but in Hootfish, we're just sending a link to an exercise, and we tell you, Kevin, here's your phishing simulation test. It is a test. You can fail it, but you get to retake it immediately. And we have an open book. You have a help me link over every one of the 7 questions we might ask you for the sender, the subject, the greeting, spelling, punctuation, and grammar, although ChatGPT is getting rid of that with all the phishing emails, urgency, emotionality, links to external websites, and attachments. If you know what those 7 things are and what to look for, you can be cyber literate, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And avoid with confidence those attacks.
All right, since you mentioned it, so one thing I guess until now you haven't really kind of explored is maybe the impact of AI in general. I mean, it's go in a million different directions with such broad maybe question, but how do you see AI impacting this space, and is that part of the roadmap? And do you see not challenges, but how do you address that moving forward as this is just moving so fast?
Yeah, AI is a little bit exciting and scary all at the same breath, right? We've all heard about, AI and what it can do for attacks, for example. We've read and blogged about this. There are AI models out there that can write your malware for you. They can write code, and you can use it when you don't have the programming skills to write your own code, your own malware. But more worrisome than that is, let's say you run a scan. You can get a Nessus scanner or a Qualys, any of these great companies out there, run a scan and you see, oh, there's this vulnerability sitting out there on this website. I don't know how to attack it. Just ask the AI. It'll say, oh, you need this plugin in Metasploit, and you can boom in these parameters. Would you like me to run the command line to run it for you? And it'll tell you how to exploit the things you're finding. So it's really been very effective at helping hackers hack.
Yeah.
Not only that, for phishing, I can send phishing emails in any language in the world, and I won't have the cultural context. That's a problem still, but I will have perfect grammar and spelling and punctuation in the native tongue. You just put it into the chat GPT and it converts over to that native language. So it's made discovering that tech, if you get an email with spelling mistakes in it, you probably are under attack today, because most hackers are using ChatGPT, but if they aren't, then you might have that opportunity to spot it.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of different languages. I guess I'm assuming primarily, is it North American based, or is it English based? Or are you looking at different languages, or?
Well, if I wanted to send a phishing attack, if I were a hacker, I'm not, but if I was, and my target was somewhere else in the world, I would want to translate my urgent, emotional, reactive email into the native language of those people.
Sure.
So I would draft it up. In fact, I can point with Worm GPT, and there's another one who's Fraud GPT. These are hacker versions of GPT, large language models. You can point them at social media profiles and say, give me 3 spear phishing attacks on that individual. And then, well, maybe they're native speaking French or German or Dutch, whatever. Okay, now write me a spear phishing attack on that person. If it makes sense and it seems like it's got the emotional grip, now translate it into Dutch and then send it, okay? And get them to click. And at that moment, you can capture their tokens, get into their email, find every person they've ever emailed in another script that you would write to pull out the hundreds, if not thousands, of email addresses. Now you can target those people from that person. If you're lucky, you might get to email all of them, or they might catch you after a few hundred or a few thousand. So and I've been on the other end of these investigations. I know this because I'm the guy they call, or my team of virtual CISOs at CyberHoot are called in to fix these problems when they've occurred.
So I imagine that you guys, when you're deploying your technology, are you able to provide the training in different languages to counteract? Maybe if companies got offices in U.S., Dubai, France, what have you. Are you looking at multi languages at that point?
Well, when I said AI is exciting, it's because we've looked at it from CyberHoot's perspective to auto translate into other languages for our training, which we're successful on delivering some training in other languages, although it's not where we want it to be yet. Where we're struggling is in our phishing simulator, we have to misspell some words when we show spelling, punctuation, and grammar mistakes as an indicator. And when you do auto translate into another language, it's smart enough to fix our typos, right? So we have to write exemptions, and we're in the process of developing multilingual support. Today, we don't have it. Would we check in with us later this year? We may.
Cool. All right. So you said you're on a path or a mission to effectively train 1 billion people
Yes.
at some point, which is your big, hairy, audacious goal. That I think that's a phenomenal goal. What's it going to take to get you there?
It's going to take a big sales force. We have if you look at us on Reddit, or if you look at us on Tech Tribe or any of channel program, if you look at what people are saying about us, they love what they see, but too many people haven't heard about it, right? We're at this chicken and egg situation where we haven't grown enough to build a huge go-to-market sales team to bring it to all the MSPs of the world, all the IT departments. But at this point, we are really on the precipice of enormous, meteoric growth, because the Hootfish solution I talked to you about is revolutionary within the industry in terms of its positive, no administration setup, and the outcomes with a metric score for every single person, and how it rewards the IT department for bringing that cyber literacy to the people, or the MSP, where MSPs live and die on the value they add to their client relationship. They're always looking for ways to add value, because if everything's just running right, what am I paying my MSP all this money for, right? But if everything's running right and they touch me as an employee and every other employee around me every month with something interesting about cyber literacy that is in their face, and it's a value add touch, which you must have as an MSP each month. That's why going into cyber literacy, cybersecurity training is so valuable. But you don't want to do the negative side of it. If you're sending the attack messages, you're kind of burning people with a shock collar when they fail, and that doesn't build trust. That erodes it, which is why you got to be careful how you approach this. So as we become, enterprise aware, enterprises should talk to me, because they need this desperately. They need this positive reinforcement phishing simulation in their environment to boost that number one cyber literacy skill of phishing identification and deletion. And once we get that larger scale, and we can get into the places, the watering holes, the conferences, all of those sorts of things, which this year we're going to 4 conferences, including yours at Channel Program, which I'm really excited next week in Chicago. Throw a quick bone out there. I'm really excited about that exposure, because as people hear about what we do, they're like, what a no-brainer. We should have thought of that. That's a great idea.
Do you love when people say that?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
if they only knew what it took to get to where you are, right? I mean, just all the they always think it's easy, but no, what I love is to your point, it's a positive reinforcement. But I think one of the biggest challenges, and we struggled this way back in the day when I was kind of building out a similar platform, was just how do you educate the MSP? Because let's face it, there's a massive maturity curve, and they still, they know that they need this type of solution, but our data and Channel Program shows that, roughly 34% of the MSPs are actually using the tool. That means, almost 60% of the marketplace is not using security awareness training, phishing, simulation type of platform, which, is shocking because of how pervasive it is, and the fact that it's the number one, threat vector. So I love kind of the way that you guys work with the MSPs, and kind of the simplicity and the kind of low touch administration. And I guess I imagine that you guys, when you're getting up and running with the MSPs, there's a lot of, back and forth, or a lot of, I guess you guys do, because you got virtual CISOs, and there's a lot of support of the MSPs as well. Yeah,
we do. I think, though, to your point about 30% have a tool and 70% don't, or it might be 35, 65. But the reality is 5 or 10 years ago, we founded CyberHoot. We were convincing people they needed to do training. That's no longer the case. It's just a question of, well, how are we going to do it? Because we don't have enough administrators to deliver it. But wait a minute, it's 100% automated, and it builds value in the client relationship. Sign me up. It really is a sea change moment in cybersecurity, because there's no barriers to adopting tools like CyberHoot now. You just enroll them in Entra ID or Google Sync, and you're off to the races. Set it up on automatic mode. One of the nice advantages of our Power Platform, too, is when you roll out technology at your MSP. Let's say you're rolling out a password manager, because our second or third video says you need to adopt a password manager. It's the only way to get unique, strong, and long passwords everywhere you go in time to MFA. Or better yet, this is an important point. There's another sea change. People are adopting passkeys. If you want to learn about that, go to our blog. We've written about it multiple times. Many, many companies, even Target.com is supporting passkeys today. And it's a more advanced way of authenticating that avoids a lot of the problems with passwords, which can be replayed by hackers when they're stolen. Passkeys cannot. So just look into passkeys if you're hearing this today. But you can just roll this out to all of your clients in automatic mode, enroll them, and you're off to the races. Now, one of the benefits is we have product training in our tool. So if you're rolling out a password manager, let's say OnePass, Bitwarden, Keeper, 3 great products, because they've gone through a lot of external third-party pen tests, things of that nature. We've blogged about that. If you want to read more, go visit our blog. But if you were adopting that, your users might be looking at, I've never used a password manager. This is so frustrating for me. I don't really like this. But we can assign training, optional training, to all your users through the CyberHoot Power Platform from Keeper, 1Password, Bitwarden to your users to teach them what they need to know. And they can pick and choose from 10, 12, 15 videos how to use the product. Every Microsoft product's in our tool. Every workspace product for Google is in our tool. And every other product that you roll out is just about in our tool to teach and avoid those calls to your MSP help desk. It's a beautiful thing. And it's another value add. And many of our MSPs are using that to aid the adoption of new technologies they roll out to their clients.
I love that. I think that obviously goes along with your cyber literacy, kind of mantra or what have you. But that provides another touch point for the MSP to show value to their customers. It's not just, all right, we're gonna test you over here, right? But these are also, this is how you do your job more effectively type of videos. Yes. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I love that. All right, so you mentioned we're going to see out here Chicago. That's as the recording and then the airing of this. That will be next week, I think May 14th. For folks that are listening, are there any incentives, or what's the best way to get a hold of you guys and on the socials and on the internet?
Well, the best way to learn about CyberHoot is to see it. So book a meeting with us. My Calendly link is calendly.com/CyberHoot-Craig, and I'll give you a demo. But you can visit us at cyberhoot.com, and you can learn about our different 3 platforms. We've got Hootfish, Autopilot, and Power Platforms. They all deliver automated training and phishing simulations. Our Power Platform has the product training. It has both Autopilot and Power have dark web reporting, automated management compliance reports for everything. We also built gamification in. You can get a beautiful little icon on your user in their My Dashboard that shows their cyber literacy, and it goes from like a owl hatchling at the beginning when they have low cyber literacy. They might be more literate, but we haven't tested them. And as they go through, they rank up to like the wise owl sage, which is this militarized owl with a sword, and it's kind of fun. I hear some companies are showing each user, oh, I got to this level, I'm at that level. So the gamification actually does help with cyber literacy teaching it. But go to cyberhoot.com, take a look. We do make CyberHoot free for individuals. So if you have an Aunt Susan that wants to get a little bit of cyber literacy because she did something she shouldn't have her sign up at cyberhoot.com/individuals for a free 6 foundational videos and 1 of our phishing simulators. We'd like to do that. We also have discounts for nonprofits or educational institutions or government entities, which we pass on through the MSP. So there's lots of different ways you can get CyberHoot. But the best thing is to just take a quick peek at it, because you need to know that it's going to work for you before you can say, yes, I'm going to resell this to all of my clients. But time and time again, Kevin, we see it's free for 30 days. For every single customer you put it in, there's a security scorecard report you can get for those customers that provides a lot of really interesting information, like typo squatted domain names and MX record checks for DKIM, DMARC, SPF. But a lot of the MSPs will tentatively put their toe in the water and roll it out to 2 or 3 people. And 6 months later, they're like, everyone has to get this. I've even had MSPs say, you have to sign a waiver or disclaimer that if you refuse CyberHoot and you get breached, every hour we spend recovering your data or your company is billable at our full rate, because it's usually on a Friday night over the weekend and it's burning out our engineers, right? The beauty of CyberHoot is the engineering teams at the MSPs start pushing it because they see the companies in it are getting fewer and fewer issues on nights and weekends when it's family time. So it's self-preservation for them.
Yeah, no, I love where you're going with this. All around the scorecard and the individual from I think MSPs, they're listening. That sounds to me like a really fantastic lead generation tool.
Absolutely. You put any prospect you want in it. When you sit down with them, you got a 30-page report that covers all of the big hit issues, that conversation starters, redacted passwords. We have a link. You with your former company, you know how the dark web works. We have both dehashed and have I been pwned pulled in via API, so we can show redacted passwords, and you can see some users like the last 4 are the same. Oh my God! Now I know I really have a big problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's really a good conversation piece. And then we have some recommendations, right? Here's a cyber program in a box, 10 steps to cyber maturity in that report that you can walk through. And most MSPs are talking to SMBs that have done none of them, right?
Yeah.
There's zero cyber literacy, which is shocking. You know, Verizon's data breach report I referenced earlier said if you have 11 to 100 employees, you're 15 times more likely to be successfully attacked than larger and smaller companies. So if you have that many people in your organization, you have to be doing something around cyber literacy.
Yeah. Look, I mean, with the tools these days where, you know, the bad guys are smart, right? To your point, they're realizing that the SMB is the weakest link. So a lot of the enterprise, they're defending, you know, they're bolstering their defenses, but with automation and how easy it is to initiate these attacks, you know, it makes total sense for them to go after SMB because of the lack of literacy and just how easy it is to, extract from those networks, get in and engineer and extract. So it's a massive issue. I started off by saying I beat my head against the wall because 10 years on, it hasn't changed, but yeah, it's because these attacks have gotten more sophisticated and then there's more at risk, more at play out there. So
I think we're again at another sea change again, Kevin, because 10 years ago, right, it hasn't changed much. But 10 years ago, people didn't realize what the answer was. They're like, cybersecurity, put my head in the sand. I don't know what to do. It's too complicated. Well, now people realize it isn't that complicated, and there are simple solutions that you can put in place. We just need to find ways to deliver them in an automated way, which is what CyberHoot has done. And so now we're not convincing people they need it. We're saying, how can you adopt this and build an SOP around it? Well, it's quite simple. You take these 10 steps to enroll, and you're done. Awesome. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes tops to get a new customer in and set up on automatic mode. And if you want to add value down the road, when you're rolling out a new technology, run some product training down the channel as optional training to them.
That's awesome. Well, Craig, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person here next week.
Oh, good. So you'll be in Chicago? Great.
I will be there, and we'll expecting a great event. But in the meantime, we'll add some of these links to the site in the show notes, in the newsletter, the Calendly link for demo. We'll add that in as well. And yeah, I mean, again, a student of this space and being in it for as long as I have, I really appreciate the way that you guys are going to market with this, because I think it's pretty refreshing. A lot of them, I think a lot of organizations try to have a unique hook, but I think in this case, you guys do have, pretty unique value proposition to the MSPs and their customers. So well done to you guys for being different in this category. It's awesome.
Appreciate that very much, Kevin.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks again.